So today we'd be talking about the usage of the words would, could, and should. And as I've said before, be more practice oriented than rules oriented. Rules aren't everything, but obviously they're something. You would have come across many people who can speak English very fluently, but they're speaking wrong. So don't be like one of those. They look like total morons. So before we begin with this video, I would want you to know that the word would, should, and could, they're actually modal verbs. And modal verbs, there are 9 modal verbs in English, and we'd be discussing 6 of them in this video. So we're covering somewhere around 66.66% of the modal verbs. So it's quite a lot. We'd be looking into the general sense of their usage rather than the rules, because I don't think rules have anything to do with the usage of would, could, and should. I haven't known any rules. I use them just fine. So let's get started. So we have the words will, shall, and can. And the words would, should, could are just the second forms of these words. And they're all modal verbs. Okay, they're the 6 modal verbs we're talking about in this video. So we have the words will, can, and shall with their second forms would, could, and should. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this so that you can actually memorize their meanings. Accordingly, you don't have to memorize the meaning separately. You can just make a group of 2 and memorize one meaning. Now, I hope you're all familiar with the first 3 modal verbs I've used. Even if you're not sure about shall, just forget it. It's not used that frequently. So will and can, obviously you're familiar with those words. If you have the ability to do something, you would say I can do this. Okay, if you have the firm intention of doing something, you're dead serious about doing something, you'll say I will do this. Now, as I've said before, would, could, and should is something that we're concerned about. But it's important to notice that these are just the second forms of the actual words will, can, and shall. Now, the first forms are the actual meanings. We're all familiar with how to use them. For example, if I'm dead serious about doing something, I will use the word will. If I'm telling my ability or somebody else's ability to do something, I'm using the word can. So goes for would and could. I would be using the word would when I'm talking about either in the past tense or when I'm either talking about an assumed scenario. For example, if this was the situation, this is what my action would be. Okay, this is what I will be doing. If I'm dead serious about it, I would be using the word would. If I'm telling my ability in an assumed scenario, I would be using the word could. So far we have looked at these words in positive and negative sentences. Now we'd be looking at the usage of these 3 words in an interrogative sentence, where we're asking somebody a question. Now, you would have heard many people telling you that you should use the word could to sound more polite. And why is that? Because could is actually used to question the ability, whereas would is actually questioning the intention. Questioning somebody's intention is actually more personal than questioning somebody's ability. For example, if I was holding a lot of bags in my hand and I could not open the door, and my brother was standing next to me, I would say, would you open the door? Like I'm questioning his intention about whether or not he's going to open the door. But when it's a stranger, on the other hand, I would be questioning their ability, and I'm sounding more polite. That could you, if you can, would you open the door? Okay, so I'm not questioning their intention, because why would they intend to do anything for me? First of all, I'm not their sister, I'm not their anything, I'm not their friend. So why would I be questioning their intention? Why would they even intend to do something for me? I'm nobody. But when it comes to somebody personal, somebody I can be rude to, somebody who is supposed to do something for me, and he's not doing it, I use the word would. Okay, so you use the word could in order to question somebody's ability, and that's why it's more polite rather than questioning somebody's intentions. So whenever you're talking to a stranger, use the word could, and if you can fit a please into the sentence, don't hesitate to do that, because it's actually the please that makes it sound more polite. So same goes for should. Whenever you're asking for a suggestion, you use the word should. For example, whether I'm deciding if that's the right thing for me to do, I would ask, should I do this? So that's all. It's not very complicated. You should just be familiar that the word will and would are used for firm intention. The word can and could are used to question the ability, but the words would and could are actually used, most of the times they're used in an assumed scenario. And when you're asking a question, whether to use would or whether to use could depends upon who you're talking to and whether you want to question their intention or you want to question their ability. So that's all for today. Have a nice day.